Wham!
But I wanted to ask you, so I'm just curious, how would you say the experience as a software engineer as an intern differs from a full-time position?
I would say when I was an intern, there were the company I work at now is different from the company I interned at, and so I have a feeling the internships vary by company and sort of the expectations are. But I will preface it with I left the company I interned at. Like I went back there full time and I stayed less than 2 years before I switched companies. But basically, my whole feeling was that when I was an intern, the company went above and beyond, having events, having networking events, like just kind of exposing us to a side of the firm that you never actually get exposed to again when you go full time. So I think my internship was a lot more fun and it felt a lot more professional, and I feel like it was a lot more intellectually stimulating, and there was just a lot of things going on that I was like, oh, I like how many people I can meet, like I like how flexible my work is, I like how flexible my managers are, that I was sort of given a different perspective on how a job would be, like how working 9 to 5 would be at like a company. So then when I came full time, there's less events, less networking, and you're more like you're supposed to get your stuff done. Like if you get your stuff done, then maybe there's networking stuff, maybe there's other events, but it's always like you're kind of expected to be at your desk for like the whole 10 hours you're in the office, and like you're expected to produce. So I would say that was like the weird realization. But like now being at a different company, I know that's not always the case. It's very dependent on your organization, the culture that your managers have for you. But I will say that a lot of companies tend to go above and beyond for interns, and like it's hard to get good talent when you're like an engineering company because there's so many like top engineering companies. Like they're giving you amazing pay that like you can't really differentiate the companies based on pay a lot of times. So it's like, what other things can they give you? Can they like stimulate you intellectually? Can they give you like cool stuff like a game room? Can they give you free food? Can they give you like managers who are like distinguished outside the company? Like at Google, we have like the creator of like GitHub works there, and that's like one of the biggest draws. Is like your manager could be this like person who created some technology you use, or that technology that's so popular. So there's a lot of different things that companies use to kind of pitch you the perks of working at that company when you're an intern. So I definitely feel you feel like a lot more valued, and you're like, ooh, like I get to pick and choose like when you're an intern.
That's so interesting you say that, and I think one of the interesting things about especially software engineers is that the work-life balance is like so much better relative to other jobs, and the pay. I think like maybe a couple of years ago, the average salary for a software engineer was exactly 100K, which is pretty crazy to think that the hours aren't that bad. I mean, sometimes I hear some companies let some of their workers get out sometimes 4 when they don't have that much to do like during a certain point of time, which is pretty interesting. It's a good life balance.
Yeah. I know like for me, like doing engineering at Goldman Sachs, which is like an investment bank, like my friends who were on the business side were working twice, 2.5 times what I was. Like they'd come in on the weekends. They would
Software engineers?
no
Or is it
investment bank.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so they'd be working the weekend. They'd be working like 9 to midnight or whatever the hours are, and I would be like, I would be they would like message me, and I'd be like, dude, I've been home for like 6 hours now.
I
Like,
believe it. There is I remember read an article a couple years ago about this Bank of America intern. She worked 3 days straight without sleep, and she passed away apparently. Something
yeah,
crazy like that. The hours for investment banking are absurd. But it
yeah,
happens.
I would say it's definitely a culture thing. I don't know. For my time working at an investment bank, I'm still not. I wasn't really convinced that it was like reasonable for people to be working those hours. I just feel like it was either up to poor management or just keeping up the toxic culture that makes investment banking like what it is. Kind of one of those things where like I went through it, now you have to go through it. I feel like it's a lot of that. But luckily, engineering is like nothing like that. It was like almost pretty similar like to what you'd find at any other tech company from like my experience.